A young boy with a scaly tail is perched on a mountain top in a lone forest. Upon seeing a prey, he jumps down and completely transforms into a dragon. Next, he swoops on the rabbit and quickly captures it. Guess someone skipped breakfast and lunch. The poor rabbit begs him for mercy, but the vicious dragon is adamant about slaying it because it caught it. In no time, he slaughters the rabbit and gobbles it all, flesh and bones. A tiger has been secretly watching him, and as it gradually walks towards him, he cautiously looks upwards towards the ferocious creature. Talk about nosy neighbors. As their gazes meet, they both growl ferociously at each other. However, the dragon is still very young compared to the fully grown tiger, so he decides to flee. Baby dragon versus adult tiger? Hey, that's not fair. The striped cat is too agile for him since it quickly grabs his back. The dragon tries to stagger violently, trying hard to throw off the tiger, but the cat is far more powerful than he is, and she manages to pin him down. The tiger begins chewing his skin, so he tries to shove her away since that gave him a lot of pain. He begs her not to eat him alive, but to kill him first. Yup, sequence matters. The tiger stares at him intently, then realizes that the dragon is still a kid. To his astonishment, the striped cat transforms into a beautiful woman and then begins to lick his face. Is this a case of animagus? The dragon boy is overwhelmed and then faints. When he gains consciousness, he finds himself in a dark cave lying before the tiger. He notices that she is asleep. Plot twist. He's now the pet. When he tries to get up, he yelps in sheer pain since his leg is deeply wounded. Still, he manages to stand upright and slowly trots towards the cave opening. But before he can go outside, his wounded leg is grabbed, and he is roughly yanked back by an annoyed tiger. Escape level failed. Out of fury, he whacks the tiger's face with his tail, pointing out at his bleeding limb. The tiger is at first stunned by his rudeness, but then wrathfully overpowers him. Respect your elders, even if they bite, says who? The dragon boy is not at all intimidated. Instead, he demands food from her. When she looks at him closely, he gives her a dodge and then slips away from her clutches, claiming that she won't be eating him anyway. The tiger knows that he is right since he isn't fully ripe. He suggests that if she thinks he is too small, then she should feed him a lot and make him bigger. The tiger wonders why she should be feeding him. Baby dragon or freeloading roommate? He casually mentions that because of the wound, he cannot hunt and fly for too long. He feels that the tiger should save him from starvation. The tiger stares at him, then heads to hunt a nearby deer. Mother instincts, accidentally activated. Meanwhile, while waiting for food, he suddenly senses some menacing steps heading towards him. To his agitation, some hungry wolves are heading towards him, thinking that a dragon's meat tastes the best. Who started that rumor? Yelp? They have also heard that a dragon's blood can heal all kinds of wounds, and its heart can give one immortality. The dragon boy condemns them for believing such myths, but the wolves intimidate him so that he shouldn't try to escape, since they have memorized his scent. Peer pressure, but make it deadly. Suddenly, a dark shadow hovers at the cliff above him, and in no time, the big-boned tiger appears, growling ferociously at them. The dragon boy triumphantly places his leg over her, claiming that he already has her as a customer. Claiming things you didn't even pay for, level expert. The wolves sinisterly growl at her to stay away from their meal, however, she protests that the dragon is her prey. The tiger wrathfully jumps and attacks the pack of hounds. Okay, here some kindergartners are fighting for a lunchbox. One by one, she snips and snaps and pins down all the wolves. However, one of them hides on a cliff above the tiger, and when she is not looking, he growls and attacks her from behind. When you try to sneak attack, but forget she's a tiger. But the tiger quickly tackles it. There is a bloody battle between the duo, and a brutally wounded tiger drops to the ground. Tough day to be tough. The dragon sighs and realizes that she is going to pass away anyway. So when one wolf dashes towards an unconscious tiger to devour her, the dragon grabs him, wondering whether he is the pack's leader. The wolf hysterically snarls at him, demanding to let him go. Quite casually, the dragon fulfills his wishes and releases him over a deep canyon. Gravity wins again. There is a sound of a sickening thud, and when the underlings witness the fate of their leader, they instantly hurry away. The dragon boy observes that the tiger is badly injured. She glares at the peevish dragon boy who is playfully hovering over her. He mocks her for being smart enough to stay still, taunting that she clearly knew she was about to be devoured. With a mocking touch to her chin, he challenges her to come closer and convince him it's perfectly fine to get eaten by a tiger. Flirting? Insulting? Hard to tell. Grinding her teeth in fury, she lunges at him. Her voice shakes with pure anger as she declares she'll eat him right then and there. Snack time, but this time it's personal. Yet the dragon boy shows no fear. Instead, he sharply presses into her wound. She yelps in pain, and in that moment, he slips free, floating into the air with a smug grin. Dumped by a flying lizard? Fantastic. He proudly calls his little stunt sweet revenge, while she glares up at him, thinking he's far from adorable. Unbothered, he explains, almost wisely, that she shouldn't get so sentimental about her food. Gaslighting, professional level unlocked. Then, with the nerve only he could muster, he demands food from her. Annoyed, she rubs at her injured throat and grumbles that he's always like this. He defends himself, claiming there's nothing else to do. He's stuck in lockdown, eating, sleeping, and being a first-rate nuisance. He reminds her that she'd gone hunting earlier and demands she lay the kill before him. When she stays silent, suspicion creeps in. Had she failed? Mission failed successfully. Elsewhere, in the shadows of the deep forest, a huge bear peeks from behind a tree, spying the dragon lad. But when it sees a magnificent white tiger trotting beside the boy, it immediately turns and vanishes into the trees. Bear's motto of the day: nope, not my business. Meanwhile, the tiger watches as the dragon draws an amusing caricature in the mud. He claims it's a picture of her, then, without missing a beat, immediately asks about the food. Nothing like a compliment immediately followed by a demand. When she doesn't answer, he snidely assumes the prey escaped her. She frowns as he smugly laments being captured by such an incompetent hunter. Regrets served cold like leftovers. He guesses her striking white coat probably makes hunting harder, a theory he tests by splashing his tail into a nearby stream to catch a fish. Predictably, the fish slips away, nature's way of saying, stay humble. Smirking, the tiger plunges her mouth into the water and easily catches a slithering fish, finally shutting down his teasing. Teamwork makes the lunch work. The two devour a refreshing meal of fish, but their peace is short-lived. Overhead, two nosy birds gossip about the dragon, pitying him for being alone and wondering if he's the last of his kind. Furious, he chucks a stone at them, scattering them with a new invention, salty dragon energy. Still fuming, he urges the tiger to leave, claiming he can't stand birds crying in his ears. She's unsettled by his sudden mood shift and grows curious about his family. But he has no answers, no memories of a pack. Orphan vibes thick in the air. Night falls as they return to their cave. As the dragon lad drifts to sleep, the tiger watches him closely. Suddenly, a sharp sound pierces the night, and she bolts upright, every sense on high alert. Outside, perched on the highest branch of a tree, sits an old owl who bluntly asks why she hasn't eaten the dragon yet. She explains curtly that he's still immature. Fine dining can wait. The owl snorts, suggesting she's just raising her own meal. He drops a heavy truth. Dragons live for 1,000 years, while tigers, at best, see 2 decades. In short, she'll die long before he's even grown. Better feast now. Meddling elders come in all species, apparently. Deeply rattled, she returns to the cave and eyes the boy, conflicted. Steeling herself, she leans down to gnaw at his bare shoulder, only to freeze when she hears muffled giggles. To her horror, the dragon lad is wide awake, chuckling at her attack, because it tickles. Busted mid-snack. He teases that he can never sleep peacefully around his predator. An awkward silence follows before she musters the nerve to ask if dragons really live for 1,000 years. He shrugs playfully, dismissing the idea as nonsense. Then, with that mischievous glint in his eyes, he questions whether she'll believe everything he says, because so far she has. To make matters worse, he casually remarks that tigers aren't the brightest, being all brawn and no brain, running around and biting into anything without thinking. His sharp words ignite a flash of rage, and with a roar, she pounces, pinning him to the ground. Congratulations, you just unlocked beast mode. She growls at him for taking liberty and spitting out filth whenever he wants. She turns mad with rage when he calls her stupid again. Insult her once, shame on you. Insult her twice, your dinner. He yelps in pain when she bites into his shoulder. He tries to shove her away, but she keeps on chewing his shoulder. He accuses her of suppressing him with her powers and highlights that this is what he is trying to call her stupid act. Nope, this is not how you make friends. When she doesn't budge, he finally gives her a hard kick on her stomach to push her away. Next, he slashes her with his whip-like scaly tail and jeers at her for not being able to maintain her sanity. Problem solving. Medieval edition. He deduces that he won't be able to stand if he stays with her. So when he tries to slip away, the tiger grabs his tail and feebly admits that she doesn't know anything about dragons. She meant, "You're not quitting this toxic relationship yet." An astonished lad turns around, wondering what good it will do to her upon learning about him, as in the end, she will devour him. Knowledge is power, or a snack recipe. He touches his raw shoulder wound and then smears some blood on her face mischievously. Still, he decides to reveal one thing to her, and then he whispers in her ear that he is not a kid. Trust issues? Nah, just dragon humor. The tiger is stunned to hear that shocking revelation. She wonders whether he is still an infant. "Ma'am, the math is not mathing." He looks at her, deeply annoyed, stunned at her stupidity. The tiger's brain cells left 0. Out of nowhere, a stampede of four-legged creatures bursts through the jungle. While the dragon lad watches from the sky, the tiger skillfully grabs one deer from the fleeting herd and pins it down. She quickly squeezes out its blood, thus killing it. Talk about fast food service, literally. Suddenly, the dragon lands beside her. In no time, they enjoy warm deer meat. He is curious when he sees her licking her paw. Meanwhile, I'm still figuring out how to eat pizza without getting sauce on my nose. She reveals that this is to mask her scent from the prey. He touches her body and claims that her fur is so beautiful. The tiger is struck by lightning, and she warns him not to touch her again. Consent matters, even in the jungle, bro. He guesses that she is restraining him because he hit her weak spot. He doesn't stop and keeps on ruffling her soft stomach. Next, he affectionately rubs her chest, trying to figure out her heart's position. Bro out here trying to perform surgery without a license. His touch is sending severe shockwaves inside her body as she fidgets in discomfort. Next, he strokes her neck, guessing that even that is her weak spot. To his amazement, the huge tiger rolls insanely on the ground, triggered by his intimate touch. Warning: dragon hands come with automatic tickle mode. He smiles and guesses that his touch is making her feel good. The white tiger purrs helplessly while still lying flat on the ground. Suddenly, they hear some heavy paw steps stealthily approaching them. Nothing ruins cuddle time like uninvited guests. When they turn around, they see a huge, ferocious tiger appearing from the bushes. The white tiger roars at the emerging tiger menacingly. Meanwhile, the dragon lad quickly plucks out the leftover deer meat to snack on while watching an upcoming bloodthirsty battle. All right, Netflix and popcorn time. The white tiger snarls at the intruder, warning him to stay out of her territory. The intruding tiger claims that the territory will become his after that day. Soon, both jump and wrestle with each other fiercely by using their sharp claws and pointed canines. The ever-mighty white tiger quickly overpowers the intruding tiger, howling and biting at it brutally. Never challenge someone who has snacks mid-fight. The intruder instantly surrenders and begs her to stop. The white tiger releases him, and the wobbly and shaky tiger tries to get up on his fours. In no time, the visiting tiger turns into a handsome young man. And also, the frog turns into a handsome prince when kissed. Some Disney vibe. He lauds her strength and reveals that earlier he was intending to steal her prey, but then he gave up. Next, he gives her an open invitation to mate with him. The dragon lad doesn't like that blaring offer a bit. Imagine getting friend-zoned by a tiger in front of your lunch. The tiger man expresses his desire to expand her bloodline. He hopes that even the white tiger wants to leave her descendants behind. The white tiger ponders deeply, realizing that his offer isn't that unreasonable. Girl, blink twice if you're being peer-pressured into parenthood. Noticing her partial compliance, the tiger man insists that they should hurry. However, a frowning dragon lad reminds her that she is raising him. The tiger man suggests that the dragon lad can always be food for their children. Dear, you are not here to be babysitted, but to be fine-dined upon. The dragon lad sneers at him, then points out to her that the tiger man was defeated by her. So if his weak blood mixes with her strong blood, then even her blood will get contaminated. He advises her to choose someone stronger than herself. Love is blind, but genetics ain't. The white tiger finds his advice quite feasible. Even the tiger lad realizes that if he is stronger, then together they will bear mighty kids. He decides to train more and return much more powerful. Meet Dragon, a promising public influencer. However, the dragon lad doesn't want him to return. Soon, the visiting tiger vanishes in the bushes. When the duo is alone, he reprimands her to think before taking any step. The tiger is like, "Yup, and you are?" The white tiger was only thinking about leaving a lot of offspring behind her so that a lot of lives would be connected together. He stares at her disapprovingly and declares that predators are like that. She wonders if dragons think differently. No, they are more manipulative. The dragon lad curtly declares that he doesn't want to leave any of his traces behind, and everything will end with him. She stares at him, concerned, wondering whether he hates dragons. He makes a startling revelation that he despises himself for living like a dragon. Ro is growing through a self-evaluating phase. When she expresses curiosity, he cryptically refrains from giving any further explanation. He feels that the whole idea of leaving behind descendants is bizarre, and he can never do such a thing. She explains that continuing the lineage has to be done for one species. Imagine getting a TED Talk on family planning from a tiger. Out of the blue, he jumps on her, catching her off guard. He reminds her that she is supposed to eat him one day. He pins her down and strokes her. Well, that escalated from National Geographic to soap opera real quick. In no time, the white tiger lies on the ground purring peacefully. The dragon lad sits beside her, staring at her with a smile first, and then his face turns gloomy. Mood swing. Activated. Elsewhere, a huge egg cracks open, and a newborn dragon plunges out of it. The parent dragon reveals that it is a boy, and even though it is quite small, the little one is shocked to learn that his parent intends to gobble him up. Talk about welcome to the family. Instantly, the huge dragon swallows the whole baby alive. A terrified dragon lad wakes up abruptly from his sleep. He coughs violently, holding his neck. He is relieved to learn that the whole gruesome scene was a nightmare, and then finds the white tiger snoring peacefully beside him. Meanwhile, the tiger's dreams are sponsored by unlimited buffets. He quickly comes out of the cave and finds out that it is raining cats and dogs, but he doesn't pay any heed and keeps on trotting along, and then changes into his dragon form. Oh, rain is for the romantics, but gravity is for me. He soars up in the sky and then hears some faint chirping sounds coming from a nest on top of a mountain. He finds 4 baby birds crying for their mother. He picks one of them and opens his mouth wide to swallow it, but then he thinks otherwise and puts the baby bird back into its nest. Character development, plus 10 points. He instantly dashes through the sky and then perches gloomily on a mountain ledge, trying to drown his sorrows in the downpour. On the other hand, the white tiger wakes up from her slumber and is perplexed to see the dragon lad missing. She quickly comes out of the cave and is stunned to see the heavy downpour. Mother Nature, you thought you could escape me by hiding in the cave? Quite anxiously, she transforms into her beastly form and races through the dense forest. She searches for the dragon lad here and there but fails to find him. He suddenly finds a beaver sheltering under a log. The beaver hisses at her in defense. Beaver is like, don't look at my size of the body, but the size of my teeth. The tiger inquires whether it has seen a dragon. When the beaver scowls at her menacingly, she explains that she doesn't intend to attack. Yup, right now I am in the search mode. The beaver then points its tail towards the north. She frantically climbs up the mountain and finds him perched on a tall mountain ledge across a deep canyon. She furiously approaches him, and when he turns to face her, he is completely drenched in water. He looked like a soggy, miserable potato chip. She reprimands him for vanishing without telling her. He quickly steps down and mischievously blames her for not watching him properly, since he is her prey. This lad is the master of gaslighting. Frustrated to the core, the white tiger grabs him and heads home despite his pleas. He insists that he can walk himself, but she doesn't listen and stops only when she reaches her cave. Next, she shakes her body violently to dry herself and then pulls him closer to herself, explaining that he has to be kept warm. He stares at her wide-eyed and then rests his head against her soft body. First prize for the world's rumpiest cuddle. He cuddles closely to her and mentions the horrific nightmare he had earlier. He reveals that in that malicious dream, he was eaten by a dragon. The tiger cannot believe her ears, but he explains that dragons are die-hard cannibals who even see newborns as food. Family dinners must be really awkward. The tiger cannot even think about devouring her own race. The dragon lad claims that the result of this heartless cannibalism is the extinction of dragons. Dragons, great at flying, bad at family planning. The white tiger declares the dragons as an idiotic species. Out of sympathy, she begins licking her face, but he gets irked quickly. The tiger is only trying to console him, but he doesn't approve of it. Instead, he asks her to cuddle him up again to make him warm. Boundaries? Never heard of them. She smiles at him and then engulfs him in a tight embrace. Elsewhere, a humongous and ferocious dragon is shown hovering over a mountain top, along with 2 sinister vultures. Plot twist. It's family reunion time. One day, when the white tiger is taking a bath, the handsome tiger visits her again and wonders whether she has already eaten that annoying dragon. He tries to be chummy with her, but she avoids him. He doesn't get the signal and keeps on following her, when suddenly a long scaly tail slides around his neck and tries to choke him. Bro thought it was a love hug. Nope, it's a chokehold special. The dragon lad angrily demands an explanation for his sleazy acts. The young tiger is surprised to see him alive and claims that he is just fooling around with her. The dragon lad frowns and pulls him apart, declaring that if he is just here to waste time, then he must leave. Something is burning. No, not on the stove. The young tiger is here for a special purpose, since he wants to warn him about the presence of another female dragon in these areas. He adds that he has heard the news from the migratory birds, so it is 100% authentic. At first, the dragon lad appears shocked, but then he quickly refuses to believe the young tiger's piece of bird gossip. When you realize Twitter rumors exist even in the jungle, the young tiger admits that he hasn't even seen the female dragon himself, but then he makes a shocking revelation that the dragon has 4 horns and whiskers. The dragon lad frantically inquires about the location of the flying beast, to which he mentions the southeastern region. He quickly grabs the white tiger's hand and begins to tug hard, urging her to flee with him. Bro really said, "Pack your bags, we're ghosting this place." She wonders where he wants to go, but he has no idea, only that he wants to escape somewhere distant. She curtly proclaims that it is perilous to leave her own territory. He retorts that staying here will be more dangerous. "But dear, you are in danger, not the striped cat." The dragon lad claims that it is in his blood to travel around. Still, the young tiger is curious about why he is trying to run away from his own species, as he can always continue his lineage with the female dragon. But the dragon lad assumes that the young tiger is only suggesting that so that his kind can have more food. According to him, it's not matchmaking, it's meal prepping. He urges the white tiger to leave the place immediately, but the young tiger is not ready to let his romantic interest go that easily. He is certain that at some point in time, she will become his partner. The dragon lad points out that there are other tigers in the jungle, but the young tiger insists on having the incredibly strong and beautiful white tiger. Somebody get this man a dating app already. She is speechless while the dragon lad frowns. Suddenly, he proposes a contest to the young tiger. He points at a tall mountain ledge and states that whoever climbs its summit will win. But after climbing, will anyone have the energy to claim the prize? The young tiger reminds him that he should not cheat by flying towards it. He readily agrees and declares that if he wins, he may take the white tiger. The young tiger is confident that he can never lose to a wingless dragon. Someone's overconfidence is oozing out, literally dripping. Soon, the match starts, and an overconfident young tiger quickly rushes to climb the crag. But he is thoroughly alarmed when he sees that he is the only doofus who is grinding himself, as there are no signs of the dragon lad around him. He lets out agonizing screams upon learning that he has been doped by a kid. Robot catfished, literally. The white tiger scolds him for running away from the match. He aloofly trots on, mentioning that he never had any intention to compete with that doofus tiger. The white tiger angrily stomps her feet, refusing to move any further. When your GPS says recalculating route out of pure spite, she declares him a selfish brat. When he expresses his anger towards her remark, she reprimands him for suggesting a match and then walking away from it. The dragon kid explains that he created all that drama just to get rid of that annoying tiger. Not to be blamed, he is only following the law of the jungle. He displays a nonchalant behavior with no remorse for lying. He mentions to her that she doesn't need to come along in the first place and could have stayed with her supposed mate. In this way, he would have been relieved from her clutches. Someone's feeling spicy today. Next, he turns around, slithers his scaly tail around her, and accurately emphasizes that she might not want to know how dragons behave. According to him, fighting and winning are not all about strength, and he thinks quite differently from that of a doofus tiger. The white tiger loses her fuse and starts chewing on his tail, which makes him yelp in pain. New fear unlocked, emotional damage and tail trauma. Their bickering continues when an eerie swishing sound passes them. Instantly, the white tiger releases his tail and looks around in sheer alarm. Even the dragon lad is bewildered to hear a threatening rustling sound coming from the forest. Mother Nature just hit shuffle. The tiger picks up a scent and becomes alert to an upcoming threat. She cautiously walks forward, followed by the dragon kid. She growls fiercely in defense, but suddenly, a huge snake-like body slithers towards the back of the dragon. Nature's version of surprise hug attacks. A great snake gazes sinisterly towards him, and then abruptly abducts him. Before the white tiger can react, it has already fled, taking the dragon along with it. The white tiger frantically runs in that direction but is obstructed by a massive waterfall. When life gives you snakes and waterfalls instead of lemons, the snake brings the dragon kid to the bottom of the waterfall and wraps its body tightly around him. In a shocking revelation, it addresses him by his real name, Hekidu. It appears that both are acquainted, as the huge snake proclaims that he has always wanted to see him. Family reunions hit differently when you're tied up. The great serpent observes that he has been doing quite well and has even grown a bit. Hekidu wriggles violently and urges the serpent to let him go. However, it refuses to do so, as then Hekidu will flee again to some distant place. Bro just wanted a quick, see ya, not a whole hostage situation. So before he slips away, the great snake opens its large, cave-like mouth with pointed, venomous fangs. However, it stops short when he hears a menacing growl rapidly approaching them. It is astonishing at the persistence of the white tiger, who had crossed all the hurdles just to reach Hekidu. When someone is ready to die for you, marry her already. But as soon as she gets closer, she suddenly squirms and then collapses. In no time, she wobbles and falls flat on the ground. The serpent triumphantly declares that its poison is doing its job. Achievement unlocked, most toxic relationship. Hekidu watches in horror as a frail white tiger trembles incessantly and then drops unconscious. A joyous serpent suggests that now they can feast upon her. A stunned Hekidu quickly regains his senses and then slips out from the slithering reptile's grip. Plot twist. When dinner fights back, next he transforms into a huge dragon and squashes the serpent's head with his huge talon claw. He fiercely inquires whether there is a way to cure the white tiger. The serpent is in awe of his cosmic size, but Hekidu insists that it must answer his question first. Nothing like a little casual head smashing to start a conversation. The serpent is surprised at his intention to save the deadly beast, even though she planned to eat him. In reply, the dragon scratched the snake's head with his sharp talon. Even the snake is clueless about the white tiger's condition despite getting her poisoned. The snake has short-term amnesia. When Hekidu pressures it more, it expresses its helplessness against the situation. Hekidu releases the serpent and dejectedly heads towards the unconscious beast. The snake cannot understand its bizarre affinity towards the striped beast. Some dudes simp hard, even for tigers, but Hekidu ignores her and presses her hand with his own. He points out that if the serpent can see his immense concern for her, then he should try to help him out. The serpent ponders while gazing at him and then blurts out about the one possible solution. The brain cell is activated after 3 business days. Next, it mentions that Hekidu's blood may help her. Now he is aware of the myth that a dragon's blood is omnipotent, but still, he refuses to believe that fallacy. However, the dragon reasons that when he first bit into him to catch him, the poison was ineffective on his body, although he waited for that to happen for quite a long time. Snake. Imagine biting a rock for 3 hours straight, then it tried repeatedly, but all its endeavors failed, so in short, dragon's blood is resistant to a serpent's venom. Hekidu is not convinced because that doesn't mean that his blood will heal her. Even the serpent is not sure because it doesn't have any proof. Medical degree? Nah, vibes. Still, it urges him to take a risk. Hekidu chomps down on his claw, and soon it is dripping with dragon's blood. He quickly positions the white tiger and forces her to drink his blood. Next he sucks up some of his blood and then places his mouth on hers. He forces her to swallow the blood. He repeats the same process a couple of times more. Emergency CPR. Caveman edition. The serpent is jolted by a lightning bolt at such a peculiar sight, so when he has poured sufficient blood into her mouth, the serpent stops him from doing so. The serpent is positive that if dragon's blood truly antagonizes his poison, then she will reawaken soon. Plot twist, she's just pretending to get free snacks. Suddenly, there is a distinctive howling of a wolf, and the serpent predicts that night has already fallen. When Hekidu gets a little worried, the serpent who has taken a human form assures him that everyone knows about her living in the basin beneath the fall, so no one would dare come to her territory so easily. Next, she is quite intrigued by the relationship between the dragon and the white tiger. She ships it harder than Amazon Prime. She guesses that the white tiger holds a special place in his heart since he wounded himself just to protect her. He frowns at her and begins to dash away from that place. The serpent is surprised at him for leaving the white tiger to her mercy, but he warns her menacingly that if anything happens to her, then he will rip her slithering body into 2. When a dragon threatens to turn you into spaghetti noodles, you listen. The serpent stares at him, upset, but as he soars along the waterfall, she smiles, realizing that he hasn't changed a bit. Boys will be boys, especially dragon boys. The white tiger is still lying unconscious when a slick tongue tickles her abs. She twitches uncomfortably and finally opens her eyes. She sees a huge serpent head greeting her pleasantly. Nothing like waking up to a giant lizard giving you a spa treatment. She is quite alarmed and quickly transforms into a beast. But the serpent squeals in joy since the antidote to her poison actually worked. The white tiger furiously growls at her, demanding to know the whereabouts of Hekido. First question after waking up: "Where's my dragon?" Not even good morning. The slithering serpent takes her humanoid form and then mischievously declares that he tasted so great. The white tiger cannot believe her ears, but the serpent casually explains that is why she caught him in the first place. The white tiger becomes upset and depressed. When your kidnapper roasts your friend and compliments the flavor. The serpent is fully enjoying her condition and dejected expressions. She pokes fun at her by pitying her. The white tiger glares at her and threatens to rip her whole body apart. Oops, the real tigress has awakened. She madly pounces on the serpent's scaly lower body and begins gnawing it. In a fit of rage, the scaly reptile explains that she was just pulling her leg. She gloomily gazes at her savagely bitten tail. Pulling a leg? More like losing a tail. Dolefully, she looks up and makes a startling revelation that she raised Hekido. She explains to a puzzled white tiger that when she found him, he was slightly more than bite-sized. At that time, she didn't gobble him up because of his small size. Tiny tots never fill up. The serpent watches her with interest and then affectionately licks her face, claiming that she is quite similar to her. The serpent is certain that Hekido would be proud of the fact that he has been raised by two like-minded individuals. A confused white tiger rubs her scratched foot and remarks that she can never truly decipher his feelings. Deciphering dragon emotions equals harder than calculus. The serpent advises her to observe his tail movements. Normally, it is always moving back and forth gradually, but when he is angry or threatening, then he viciously moves it up and down. So like sign language, there is tail language as well. She is about to reveal his other moods when out of the blue, two dead wild boars drop in front of them with a thud. Talk about food delivery services. Instantly, a tail swipes eagerly in front of a startled serpent, and an anxious Hekido jumps on the white tiger. Both stare at each other silently for many moments. An amused serpent watches the scene with a quirky smile and then interrupts their moment by urging him to move along. Nothing kills the mood faster than third-wheel commentary. Just like she predicted, Hekido's tail begins to swerve up and down violently, since he is under a fit of rage. The poor lad struggles to stand upright, but is keen to flee the place as soon as possible. A concerned white tiger suggests he take some rest. Bro was ready to run a marathon with half a lung. He immediately refuses, claiming that they don't have time for that. Even the serpent agrees with the white tiger because she wonders where he will rush to in such a feeble state. She guesses he won't even be able to make it outside the basin. Spoiler, he trips over a rock 3 steps later. An annoyed Hekido tells her to zip her mouth. But the serpent loves to babble and makes another wild guess that it appears he has been hunting. Instantly, she picks one of the boars and gobbles it in one take. True friends steal your food without asking. After she is sated a little, she lauds him for having some tactic. The white tiger is astonished to learn that the dragon lad is called Hekido. The serpent grins and explains that those who are precious are given special names. Dragons get epic names. Humans get Bob or Tom. The white tiger is baffled to learn that one can actually name their food. The cunning serpent hadn't even shown him a bit that he was her prey, otherwise he would have fled before getting to a considerable size. Still, she cannot help but wonder why the white tiger is so close to him. Plot twist, bonding over who almost ate who. When she appears puzzled, the serpent points out that one wouldn't have tried so hard to help someone they didn't care about without taking care of their own life. The white tiger gazes affectionately at a nearly unconscious Hekido, who has a bruised face and hand. She realizes that she still cannot comprehend his thoughts at all. She expresses her curiosity about why reptiles eat each other. Quite casually, the serpent explains that it is an unavoidable ability. This is because the dragons were very arrogant creatures who looked down upon other creatures. Dragons, ancient, wise, and absolute jerks. For this reason, they never allowed the birds to share the sky and ridiculed the beasts who dwelt on the ground. Soon, a time came when their behavior became intolerable. Some of the smart birds spread a rumor that eating a dragon's heart will make one immortal. Fake news level, legendary. In no time, the dragons were hunted and devoured by other beasts. The other animals realized that the dragon's meat tasted the best. Devastated, the dragons were unable to land on the ground to hunt for food and began to eat their own kind in the skies above. Imagine losing a fight because you tasted too good. As they were banished from the earth, their lineage shortened, and their big fat ego prevented them from pleading to be allowed to coexist once again. For this reason, the dragons have become extinct. The white tiger is deeply saddened by the serpent's gruesome story and feels a wave of pity for young Hekidu. Moral: stay humble or get eaten. She observes that he is fidgeting in his sleep in sheer discomfort and guesses that he might be having a nightmare again. She quickly transforms into her beastly form and cuddles him closer to herself. He slightly opens his eyes and buries his face into her soft fur. Soft fur equals instant nightmare cure. The next morning, when they are about to take off, the serpent silently warns her not to mention the fact that she told her about his tail movements. Hekidu overhears her and frowns deeply. He quickly grips the white tiger's waist and warns the serpent not to pollute her mind with her gibberish. Too late, bro. She's already subscribed to the gossip channel. The white tiger stares at the vast blue sky in sheer awe. Soon they land on a clearing, and he proudly declares that no tiger can do something that amazing. She smiles and then unconsciously watches his tail curl up. Tail spoilers, 100% accurate emotional weather report. He urges her to move forward. The strange dragon, accompanied by a pair of eagles, lands in the basin, wondering about a creature. The eagles assure her that it lives here. The dragon then turns into a slick female dragon and lands on the ground. Plot twist: she lands, but forgets dragons are super bad at parallel parking. The serpent watches her from her cave, and the dragon senses some presence inside the cave and heads towards it. The serpent grins at the sight of the most unexpected guest. The dragon girl doesn't smile and directly inquires whether a dragon has visited this place. First rule of Dragon Club: never smile at snakes. The serpent gives a dodged reply. The dragon girl wonders about his whereabouts, and the serpent recalls that Hekidu was heading west as he didn't want to run into someone specific. Nevertheless, she mentions that he headed west, where lost dragons and bad decisions go. The she-dragon refuses to believe her since she is certain a snake can never tell the truth. The snake is curious that if she doesn't trust her, then why is she asking for her help? The she-dragon menacingly transforms into a fierce beast and viciously attacks the serpent, intending to eat it. Because nothing says trust issues like instant murder. The slippery serpent swiftly swooshes away and then plops into the water basin. The she-dragon follows suit and is about to take a massive dive, when suddenly the serpent appears from the water, viciously opening her fanged mouth to rip off the dragon. Nature's version of a surprise party, wet, wild, and painful. She twists herself around the dragon's body and begins to bite its neck. The dragon lifts her tail, having a protruding horn on its end, and then pierces it on the serpent's head. An injured serpent hangs limply from her body. Moral of the story: bring scissors to a snake fight. Instantly, the dragon crushes the snake's head, and the latter transforms into her humanoid form. When in sheer agony, she blurts out Hekidu's name. She claims that the dragon lad is hers, as the she-dragon already had her potion. So when the latter protests that her portion was smaller, the serpent thwacks her with her mighty tail. The she-dragon snarls and whines at her madly. The serpent taunts her for being a whiner and challenges her to take away Hekidu by force. Meanwhile, Hekidu's just somewhere with his date eating snacks. The she-dragon stares at her menacingly and then tries to chomp off her tail. The serpent watches her thoroughly amused, but shockingly, her lower body is mercilessly ripped off. After some time, a victorious she-dragon appears from the basin, defeating the serpent. Achievement unlocked: Snake Slayer. She gazes at the thriving waterfall and declares it to be a nice place. She observes that it is rocky, but the water seems clear and clean. She decides to dwell in that place and turns around to seek approval from her accomplice eagles. Can they go against you, lady? The eagles have taken their humanoid form and addressed her as Master Shinsui. She is quite eager to meet Hekidu. One of her accomplices expresses curiosity about her eagerness. Translation: girl, you're down bad. She proclaims that she would like to live with him like they did in the distant past. They encourage her to do that. They seek her approval to continue their search, and she readily allows them. Meanwhile, in some faraway land, both Hekidu and the white tiger are merrily continuing their journey, completely unaware of the hot mess brewing behind them. Elsewhere, a leopard is strolling carrying a baby fox in its mouth. Suddenly, another leopard follows him. Out of sheer fury, the first leopard drops the fox, and the poor thing rolls away. Bro thought he was in a bowling tournament. The baby fox calls the following leopard mom, who roars at the kidnapper. She snaps at him for taking away the baby fox, but the latter growls at her for protecting it. He reminds her that she is a leopard while that baby is a fox. DNA test needed ASAP, but the she-leopard ferociously claims that the fox to be her child. So when the kidnapper leopard threatens to kill the baby fox, the she-leopard quickly covers it with her paws. The mad leopard tries to attack her in a fit of rage, but is shoved away by the mighty white tiger. And that, kids, is why you don't skip gym classes. The leopard warns it to move away, but she refuses. Furiously, the leopard wonders why she is meddling in his affairs. Smelling foul play, the white tiger refuses to budge, and soon a bloody tussle takes place between the two beasts. Somebody call animal control, or at least get popcorn. They both pounce, bite, and scratch each other violently. The leopard intimidatingly hisses at her, but then spots the she-leopard caressing the baby fox. He immediately dashes towards them and swipes away the baby fox with his jaws. This male lunatic is strictly against adoption. He is about to flee with his prey when a scaly tail swishes across his face. Next, he is thwacked so hard that the baby fox slips away from his mouth and is neatly caught by none other than Hecadu. The leopard staggers and loses his balance, only to be overpowered by the white tiger. Leopard.x has stopped working. She viciously warns him not to harm the she-leopard and the baby fox. The leopard growls faintly, but the cheeky dragon lad chips in that if he does that again, then they all will feast upon him. The leopard surrenders and walks away. Smart choice, buddy, smart choice. Hecado condemns the white tiger to refrain from meddling in others' affairs. She reminds him that even he has his fair share of meddling. He is about to retort when the little fox barks merrily on seeing his mother leopard. The little fox is like, "You can continue after I reunite with my mother." The duo stares in daze at the beautiful display of affection between two entirely diverse creatures. The she-leopard guesses that they might be finding it hard to digest. She sighs and reveals that the sinister male leopard killed all her children of her species, because the children belonged to another male. This just turned into a soap opera real quick. He was blinded by jealousy and wanted his own children. Then she came across the baby fox, who was curled up next to his dead mother. She felt pity for the little creature and didn't have the heart to leave him behind. Adoption papers pending. Hecadu is astonished because both the leopard and fox are entirely different creatures, but the leopard insists that, despite the differences, all she knows is that this little child needs her care. The leopard makes a wild guess that even Hecadu and the white tiger are together for some reason. Plot twist. They're just stuck with each other at this point. The night gets inkier, and it can be seen that both the leopard and the baby fox are curled up peacefully, when suddenly the male leopard returns. He stares at the duo sinisterly and has the full intention to attack them. Bro didn't get the memo. No villain arcs after bedtime. Out of the blue, he is slashed by a scaly tail, and instantly the two heroes appear in front of them. Hecadu menacingly reminds him about his early warning. The terrified leopard tries to escape, but is immediately pounced on and devoured by the duo. Guess whose dinner now? After having a feast, they both sit on a rocky ledge for rest. When the white tiger notices his blues, she stealthily approaches him and nudges him affectionately. Free therapy session incoming. After that, she settles down beside him. A stunned Hecadu stares at the gorgeous tiger woman and then unintentionally licks her shoulder. She instantly looks at him in surprise and then caresses his snout. Congratulations, you're now legally married in tiger culture. Mischievously, he grabs her arm between his powerful jaws. Furiously, she snatches away her hand, while he stares at her amusingly. He proposes that they should find a way to extend her lifespan, and feels that someone who has already enjoyed longevity might know a way, because living forever sounds cooler than therapy bills. The tiger is perplexed because she is clueless about what to do with an abnormally long lifespan. A shocked Hecadu reasons that surely she doesn't want to die. When he observes her anxiety, he quickly shuns the idea since it is not necessary to go into complexities at the moment. Finally, someone said, "Let's not overthink it," and meant it. It starts snowing, and the whole forest is covered in a white blanket. Passing through a stormy blizzard, the white tiger, carrying a half-asleep Hecadu on her back, searches for a warm and cozy shelter. Thankfully, she spots a small cave opening and quickly digs out the accumulated snow. After clearing the cave, she places him inside and urges him to wait here. He quickly grabs her tail and inquires about her leaving the cage. She explains that she has to find food. "He seems like a kid in a kangaroo pouch to me right now." He quickly tells her to catch something small. As she walks alone in the snow, a childhood memory strikes her in which she is curious about her mother's unique white color compared to other tigers. Her mother had explained that their white bodies blended perfectly in the snow. nature's invisibility cloak. Harry Potter, who? Also, the white tiger's name is revealed for the first time in the story, which is Hakurei. Soon she spots some mountain yaks grazing nearby. She quickly hides behind a mound of snow and positions herself. Mission: impossible for addition. Another memory strikes her in which her mother had mentioned that they didn't need to chase their prey. She follows her mother's instructions by simply waiting for the right time and chance. She creeps forward and quickly pounces on the black yak. Yak, why does it always have to be me? She grabs her prey and drags it through the heavy snow with much difficulty. Unfortunately, a huge black beast spots her and begins to pant hungrily. It swiftly dashes towards her and attacks her. New challenger unlocked. Hangry bear. Hakurei fiercely protects her kill from the huge black bear, but the vicious bear gives her an ugly gash on the stomach. Hakurei doesn't give up and hisses at him menacingly. The raging bear stands up to make a mighty attack on her. Somebody call animal control, or at least Jerry Springer. Her mother's voice echoes in her ears, warning her not to get closer to hungry bears since they will attack without any regard for their safety. A dejected Hakurei surrenders the yak to the ravaging bear. Suddenly, droplets of blood taint the white snow beneath her, and she remembers the wound on her stomach. Are you sure those are not tears of distress? Again, her mother's shadow whispers to her to wash the wound with some clean water and get plenty of rest. Also, she shouldn't lick her wound too much since that would widen the injury. Mother's advice: no DIY surgery, thank you. As Hakurei trots forward, she spots a flamingo, which is about to take flight when it spots her. But she quickly lunges forward, takes a huge leap, and grabs it. Meanwhile, Hekadu has already fallen asleep due to the immense cold when she reaches the safe abode. She places the dead flamingo in front of him. Hekadu frowns, calling her slow. He urges her to leave that and cuddle up to him since he is feeling cold. Bro acting like he's ordering at a drive-thru. One cuddle, no onions, please. Hakurei's face distorts in sheer rage, and she begins ripping and snapping apart the bird's flesh. Suddenly, her mother's voice tries to pacify her, and she has a flashback of her mother pulling her away from her sibling when she was a cub. Today is a day of repeat telecasts. Stay tuned. At that time, she protested that her brother bit her first, but her mother thumped her little head with her mighty paw, calling her a strong-willed child. She instructed her not to let her emotions get the better of her and that she must always pay attention to her surroundings. Translation: focus, child. Drama later, survival now. At present, a wide-eyed Hakurei stares at the shuddering, weak dragon and feels a wave of pity for him. She quickly rushes to him and cuddles him towards her body, wrapping her cloak around him. The blizzard gets severe as night falls, so both the beasts huddle to each other in that long freezing night. Two popsicles trying to survive together. Hekadu notices deep gashes on her abdomen and scrapes them, giggling mischievously. Poor Hakurei yelps in pain and then frowns at an amused dragon kid. Instantly, she throws him away on the ground. Relationship status: it's complicated. He begins to get chills and demands she take him back. She flatly refuses on his face and points out that if it weren't for him, she wouldn't have bothered to come to such a cold and dreary place like this in the first place. Hakurei: if only I had listened to that handsome tiger, we would have vacationed in the Bahamas. Soon, they move here and there looking for an answer about how to achieve longevity. They seek advice from a leopard, who mentions that the key to longevity is having good hunting skills, so that there is no shortage of food. Another creature advises them to find safe places to sleep and hide. Meanwhile, Hekadu's safe place is anywhere with snacks. According to some vigilant hawk, if one has the speed to survive their enemies, then they will live longer. A lunatic bear refuses to speak until he is fed upon some dragon meat. Hekadu is so mad at him that he chases him off hysterically. What do you expect? Senseless creatures asking advice from even more nonsensical ones. After that, he returns to the cozy lap of Hakurei and buries his face. He is quite frustrated because he still hasn't found the answer he is looking for. Then they find a bizarre one-eyed old man who lives with the monkey clan. When in doubt, always trust the guy who looks like he's lost 3 lives already. He feels quite honored to meet a dragon in such an isolated region. He welcomes them and encourages them to ask as many questions as they want. He is astonished that Hekadu wants to know about the secret of a very long life because usually dragons do enjoy longevity. Bro, dragons come with extra lives like a video game. He explains that he is interested in Hakurei. The old man proclaims wisely that each creature will live to their own predetermined span, and changing that fact will be quite impossible. An agitated Hekadu mentions that to know the impossible, they have traveled to this remote region, because Google Maps doesn't cover immortality quest routes yet. Soon he signals some monkeys, and in no time, they bring 2 filled cups in front of them. When Hekidu expresses curiosity about those cryptic drinks, the old man explains that it is made up of fermented fruits. He claims that by drinking it, he will feel energized and warm. Translation: it's jungle wine, and it will punch your brain cells. He also offers them dried deer meat for a meat lover like Hekidu. He has also gotten a special sleeping area for the duo with hay beds lined with cow fur, in a cozy hole insulated from the outside cold. When both Hekidu and Hakurai express confusion, the old man reveals that he is providing them treats in order to celebrate the honorable moment of meeting a dragon. Honestly, it's giving free samples at Shady Mall kiosks vibes. Hekido smells a big fish, so he instantly refuses, but the old man points at Hakurai, who is already drinking that creepy liquid from the cup. Hekidu reprimands her for showing impatience. However, she explains that the drink tastes amazing. Spoiler: if it tastes that good, it's either super toxic or about to knock you out. The old man lauds her excellent taste for finding the drink delicious. He claims that he hasn't poisoned it or anything. Very cautiously, Hekidu picks up his drink and slurps it a bit. This is how all Netflix horror movies start, by the way. Now he is quite puzzled about its taste and doesn't remark. The old man stares at him queerly and then reveals that when one talks about longevity, it is rumored that a dragon's heart contributes a lot to extending one's life. He then tells them a story about a monkey who ate a dragon's heart and then died within a matter of days. Moral of the story: free meals come with hidden charges. Hekidu appears shocked, but the old man continues that a wolf who ate that monkey also suffered the same fate. He believes that the dragon's heart is venomous, so it can never make one immortal. As night falls, a sleepless Hekidu lies on his bed, staring aimlessly at the ceiling, probably regretting every life choice up till this point. He turns around and finds Hakurai sleeping peacefully on the other bed. He suddenly feels hot all over, and then a soft furry tail slides over his hand. To his alarm, Hakurai stoops on him dizzily and declares that she wants something from him. Oops, it's the drink. It was indeed spiked. To his astonishment, she bares his chest and then touches it. She tipsily claims that she wants his heart. Instantly, with her sharp talons, she makes a big cut on his chest. First date vibes. Extreme Edition. In a shocking revelation, the whole scene around him changes, and it appears that he has been tied with ropes from all ends, and the creepy old man is all over him, threatening him with a knife. The old man carves his chest with that knife and claims that he always wanted to see a dragon's heart. An infuriated Hekidu transforms into a beast and wriggles violently to attack the slimy old man. Oops, he woke up at a DI=Y open heart surgery party. He roars fiercely on his face, trying to rip off his shackles. The old man warns him that if he continues to retaliate like this, then he will suffocate himself. Hekidu helplessly slumps on the ground and feebly looks at Hakurai, who is peacefully enjoying her slumber. That woman can sleep through anything. The old man begins his endeavors again by carrying the knife, as he wants to find out whether the poison already exists in a dragon's heart or is produced after their death. Poor Hekidu wails in agony as the pointed knife stabs his chest. Suddenly, there is a refreshing flap of giant wings, and in no time, Shinsui appears, kicking the old man in his face. Shinsui is out here speedrunning hero entrance like a boss. In no time, she wards off all the cheeky underlings and stands in front of Hekidu. Very confidently, she declares that she will be taking the dragon from now on. Dragon rescue? More like dragon repossession. Shinsui's eagle lands majestically between the tied-up Hekidu and the attacking monkeys, declaring that she will take the dragon now. The monkeys charge at her, but she easily kicks and stomps them back. Suddenly, the sinister old man appears behind her with a dagger, trying to ambush her, but another eagle jumps in and blocks him. That eagle pins down the monkey chief, while the female eagle snatches the fallen dagger and cuts Hekidu free. A monkey suddenly leaps at her, but she ducks and knocks it away. More monkeys rush in, but the eagle fights them off. The female eagle then calls another eagle Misumi and gives an order. She instantly transforms into a huge eagle, grabs Hekido, and flies off with the others following. Annoyed, Hekidu thrashes around and demands to be put down, but Misumi calmly asks him not to struggle. Hekidu thwacks his head with his scaly tail, and Misumi is forced to release him. However, he is alarmed when he begins to drop instead of soaring in the sky. Thankfully, Misumi swoops in time and grabs him again. A perplexed Hekidu wonders about his inability to fly. Later, the eagles put him on a mountain clearing, intending to take a short break. Hekidu is still lost in his thoughts, guessing that the monkeys probably messed up with his abilities. Next, he expresses his curiosity about whether those guys want to eat him. The Lady Eagle reveals that he has been taken to their master, who is a dragon just like him. She informs him that she will be overjoyed to see him and wants to live in harmony with him. He snootily grits his teeth and refuses to accept that the eagle is surprised to learn that and wonders why he is being so acrid. He agitatedly discloses his despise for dragons. The astonished eagle points out that Hekidu is a dragon himself, but he retorts that he hates himself as well. Next, he probes the eagles about what they think they are trying to do. When the eagles appear puzzled, he inquisitively wonders why they are serving a dragon. Misumi reveals that their master saved their lives. Now, the fact that a dragon saved some birds is really indigestible for Hekidu, but the Lady Eagle insists that if not for her, they wouldn't be alive by now. He is still in a state of doubt, so the Lady Eagle wants him to pour out his doubts. Hekidu uncovers that the dragons he knew were arrogant and proud, who hated birds, so he cannot imagine one living with some. The Lady Eagle's face becomes warm with emotion when she declares her master to be a wonderful person. Despite the rumors about other dragons, she is certain that he will truly understand once he meets her, and will definitely get along with the remaining ones from his breed. The Lady Eagle can sense his loneliness. Turns out even dragons need emotional support. Birds. Soon, the night falls, and everyone settles down for the night. A sullen Hekidu sits all alone, lost in his thoughts, when suddenly his widened gaze falls on a white strand of hair on his sleeve. He quickly picks it up, and Hakure's dazzling demeanor pops up in his mind. He swiftly kisses the strand and then vigilantly gazes ahead. On finding the eagles dozing off peacefully, he quickly tries to take off, but as he climbs upwards on a boulder, one eagle wakes up suddenly. When Hekidu sees this, he panic-strickenly paces up, and even yelps in pain when his nails scrape through the crude rocky surface, but he keeps on crawling upwards. The male guy swiftly awakens his elder sister and points at the boulder, but by then, Hekidu had already vanished. At first, Misumi is perplexed about Hekidu's escape, but then she assures herself that he couldn't have gone far and will be found very soon. As soon as the eagles fly away, Hekidu comes out from his hiding space and then sprints in a particular direction. On the other hand, Hakure awakens from her long, deep slumber and finds herself imprisoned in a dark cave. A huge rock blocks the opening, and no matter how hard she tries, she is unable to move it. But she doesn't give up and keeps on pushing it. Finally, the rock slides away, and welcoming sun rays hit her face. Like a bolt from the blue, the handsome young tiger pops in front of her and expresses his delight at seeing her after a long time, but Hakure gives him a cold shoulder and oversees him. The tiger gets upset when she ignores him like that. Hakure takes the form of a ferocious tiger and slams down the old monkey chief on the ground viciously. She growls at him and demands to know the whereabouts of Hekidu. The old monkey meekly informs her that the dragon was taken away from him. She sprints forward, looking here and there for the dragon. The handsome young tiger follows her breathlessly and tells her to give up. He guesses that Hekidu had probably been devoured before he found her. His remark halts Hakure in her tracks. Grabbing the opportunity, the tiger grabs her hand and offers to accompany him. Nothing says romance like suggesting someone's friend got eaten. She turns around and gives him a menacing stare. The terror-struck tiger immediately holds back and nervously takes a U-turn, giggling and wondering whether she is not certain about Hekidu's demise. Instantly, he offers to help her look for the dragon. Elsewhere, Hekidu is chased by a pack of wolves, snarling at him and ready to pounce. He tries to run, but then exhaustedly drops to the ground. However, he doesn't give up and swaps one wolf with his tail. The furious wolf thunders at others to surround him. The other beasts quickly oblige, while a panting Hekidu frowns at them. The pack's leader instructs others to watch out for his tail and aim for his body. As the sinister beasts draw dangerously closer to him, a huge bird swiftly grabs him and sweeps him away while the hangry beasts howl at them helplessly. The eagle drops Hekidu in the middle of the forest and then takes its human form. Hekidu frowns at Misumi and then snootily turns away his face, declaring that he has no interest in meeting that other dragon, Manter Shinsui. However, Misumi reveals that he has no intention to make them meet. Now his reply stuns Hekidu, who thought that the eagles worked for Master Shinsui. Misumi makes a shocking revelation that if it were in his hands, then he would prefer not to do so. He even expresses his desire to leave her. Hekidu stares at him in disbelief and urges him to run away. Misumi sighs and explains that he cannot do so. When Hekidu presses him to do so, he blurts out that he is tongue-tied. When Hekidu probes him violently, Misumi pushes him down the cliff. Instantly, Hekidu thumps down and vanishes into the deep clearing. Soon the Lady Eagle arrives and inquires about Hekidu. Without meeting her gaze, Misumi lies to her. The sharp woman quickly grabs him and grills him about the reason for hiding Hekidu. Nothing like lying to a bird with talons sharper than your conscience. When he is unable to respond, she warns him not to get in her way. A shadow of dismay appears on Misumi's face as he expresses his fear of being abandoned by Master Shinsui once their purpose is served in bringing Hekido to her. The Lady Eagle angrily swipes her wing over him, but he flinches and ducks in time. She warns him that if he ever betrays her again, she will never forgive him. With that, she walks towards the clearing where Hekidu might have possibly fallen, while Misumi watches her gloomily. Meanwhile, Hekidu is already on his feet, thrusting through the deep forest, when at a distance he hears the wolves howling. He quickly freezes on his feet, but then the flap of the huge wings startles him, and before he can act, he is completely groped by a colossal eagle. The Lady Eagle pins him to the ground and wonders why he is running away. He hysterically refuses to see that another dragon, however, she points out that he is one as well. She insists on how eager she is to meet him, but he snootily shows indifference. He violently tries to push her off due to her immense weight, the world's first dragon who'd rather die than network. The Lady Eagle stares at him and then pokes him in his face with her rough talons. She exclaims that despite all the scratches on his face, he still has his eyes. She tries to jab under his eyes further, for more inspection. The eagle tries to push Hekidu's face up, inspecting the area beneath his eyes. He thrashes wildly, begging her to stop and refusing to follow her. Hekidu screams as her talons dig painfully into his skin. Suddenly, a chilling tiger's roar echoes through the forest, followed by a powerful tail strike that startles the eagle. She releases the little dragon as a massive white tiger steps in front of him, shielding him completely and roaring threateningly at the bird. The eagle declares that the dragon is her prey. Somewhere, the food chain is filing a formal complaint, but the tiger snarls back that the dragon belongs to her, glaring fiercely. The eagle prepares to attack, but Misumi rushes in and stops her, insisting they can't win against the tiger. He urges her to retreat, warning that the full moon is close. They might not make it back in time. Even mythical battles have curfews, apparently. The eagle looks at Hekidu, now proudly nestled under his protector's shadow, and finally backs down. As the birds depart, Hekidu clings to the white tiger, and she hugs him back, purring lovingly. Their reunion is emotional. He strokes her and she licks him affectionately. Moments later, the white tiger transforms into Hakare. They gaze into each other's eyes, drawing closer, about to share a passionate kiss, because shapeshifting and PDA always go hand in hand. When a voice interrupts them, a handsome young tiger has been watching with amusement. Hekidu, irritated, asks why he's even here. The young tiger just grins, which only makes our lad repeat the question with even more annoyance. Nothing kills the mood faster than an uninvited third wheel with timing issues. Quite later, when an exhausted Hekidu has dozed off, the handsome young tiger questions Hakare whether she has changed her mind about eating him. When she stares at him coldly, he is taken aback and stares at her inquisitively. She stares at the dragon warmly and mentions that they both hunt together. She explains that he searches for the prey from the skies while she chases them on the ground. It dawns on the tiger that in this way, their hunting efficiency and rate of success increase. He airily acknowledges the dragon's usefulness and finally admits that it is better to keep him alive. He expresses his keen desire to fly, as he feels that in this way, hunting and moving will become easier. Hakare giggles in sheer amusement when he mentions the possibility that if he ate too many birds, then he might acquire their flying capability. The handsome white tiger's face lights up on seeing her happy, and he places his hand over hers. He passionately tries to come closer to her, but is sadly smacked down by the beastly beauty. Distressfully, he complains about her distant attitude, as he thought she had mellowed down a bit for him. Hakare ferociously warns him not to touch her again. Rejection level, physically airborne. A perturbed tiger wonders whether he had offended her in some way, but she doesn't respond satisfactorily. Out of the blue, the dragon's scaly tail rises and begins to hover in the air. Instantly, a fresh and bright Hekidu wakes up from his slumber and demands food. Later, as night falls, the handsome young tiger is astonished to learn about Hekidu's inability to fly. A bewildered Hakare looks at the dragon inquisitively. Hekidu reasons defensively that this is the first time it's happened. The handsome young tiger declares him useless again, and this ignites the dragon's wrath, who claims that he doesn't want to hear that from him. Next, he turns furiously towards Hakare and reminds him of his warning not to trust that old monkey. He insists that the monkey was acting fishy, no matter how she perceives it. He accuses her of making him be chased around by some wolves and those enormous eagles. The handsome young tiger defends Hakare and explains that she was not to be blamed. Now, Hekidu wasn't aware that the white tiger was named Hakare. so he was a bit taken aback. The handsome young tiger finally introduces himself as Oga. Hekidu gets another reason to be mad at Hakare for telling that lousy tiger her name. A surprised Hakare wonders whether she shouldn't have. He stares at her for a moment, then carelessly shrugs off the matter. He orders Hakare to chop off the remaining rope scraps. Oga complains that he could have easily bitten them off by himself. He reasons that he has already given up on the ones on his neck since he cannot reach them anyway. Hakare toils to unshackle the skin-tight ropes, but the pressure makes Hekidu yelp in pain. Oga declares untying those sturdy ropes an impossibility. A fuming Hekidu suggests using Hakare's claws to chop them off. Hakare obliges and turns into her beastly form. Very easily, she cuts him loose, so he points at the last one on his tail. Nothing motivates efficiency like mild suffering. As soon as she cuts them off, his tail begins to hover merrily in the sky, and he feels suddenly lighter. In no time, his whole body soars and begins to float in the air. Oga realizes that Hekidu can fly after all. Soon, he turns and twirls delightfully, and then suddenly embraces a startled Hakure. He instructs her to grab his body. When she does that, he quickly transforms into a dragon and rockets upward, swishing away a perturbed Oga. The poor tiger wails to be taken off as well, but Hekidu ignores him and soars away with his lady love. Next, they fly higher and higher until they see the clouds below them. Romantic gesture or kidnapping? The jury's still out. Suddenly, the mischievous dragon takes a sharp dive, and they stream downwards rapidly until he drops her on the ground. He stoops over her and queries her whether she enjoyed their little flight. A flushed Hakare sighs and then smiles contentedly. Meanwhile, a bright full moon dawns the sky, and Misumi anxiously calls out to his frail elder sister, who is panting heavily under a tree. He encourages her to walk just a little bit farther, but when she is unable to do so, he carries her on his back. They finally reach their destination, where a majestic Master Shinsui is waiting for them. Misumi drops an unconscious Lady Eagle on the ground and begs him to give them some of her blood. The master scornfully points at their delayed appearance. Misumi quickly offers his deepest apologies. Master Shinsui mentions that she is starved and intends to go on a hunting spree soon. She quickly returns to her normal form and expresses her desire for a quick snack. She sinisterly curls her tail around his leg and offers him her blood in return for his leg. Distressfully, he explains that without his leg, he won't be able to hunt properly. Shinsui turns away haughtily. Misumi glances at his unconscious sister miserably and pleads with her to give him the blood. Just for the sake of his sister, Shinsui asks him the reason for expecting generosity from her, since these guys haven't brought her anything. Misumi gloomily stares at his rapidly depleting sister and begins to lose his own vitality as he becomes breathless, but then he agrees to trade his leg to save his sister's life. Shinsui gives him a dry smile and approaches the Lady Eagle, whom she addresses as Kokuran. An alarmed Kokuran opens her eyes and tries to rise from the ground. She heartily apologizes to her. Shinsui peels off her finger and pours some of her blood drops into Kokuran's mouth. As soon as she swallows down the blood, she is instantly revitalized. She offers her gratitude to Shinsui, who aloofly acknowledges it, and turns towards Misumi. Misumi begins to tremble at her sight and quickly straightens his leg to her delight. She quickly raises her tail, and a sharp talon emerges from its end. Immediately, she hammers down the sharp talon. Poor Misumi squeals in terror, but when he slowly opens his eyes, he is stunned to see the talon pierced on the ground instead of his leg. Shinsui bursts into a fit of laughter, proclaiming that she was just pulling his leg. With the help of her sharp talon, she lifts his chin and pours some blood droplets into his mouth, claiming that if it weren't for her, they both would have been dead. She teases him and calls them adorable creatures. Clearly, this dragon majored in dark comedy and minor torture. After the eagles have been somewhat revived, Kokuran queries her whether she is okay with him being devoured by a white tiger. She guesses that Shinsui must be quite anxious. Shinsui points out that the tiger is a female, and Kokuran agrees with her. Shinsui is certain that she wouldn't eat him. She believes that the white tiger might be looking after him as if he were her own baby. Still, she considers the whole situation a big mess and declares that this time she will take the matter into her hands. Kokuran expresses her concern that several creatures are dying to hunt a dragon. Shinsui points out that the two eagles are always there to protect her. Kokuran smiles and obliges, claiming that they will protect her with their lives. Meanwhile, a melancholic Misumi sits on the ground, huddled by himself. He buries his face in his arms, and then the story goes into a flashback mode. An eagle splashes into the sea, grabs a fresh fish, and calls out to Misumi. The eagle turns into Kokuran and praises him for becoming a pro at hunting. Misumi gives credit to her for teaching him tricks and tips. However, she challenges him that he won't be able to beat her. Suddenly, someone calls out to them, and it is revealed that it is their big brother, who appears very excited at his discovery. He shows them a baby dragon lying lifeless on the shore. He assumes that it fell from its nest and died. Kokurin gazes at it with great interest, since this is the first time she has seen it. They are aware that its blood will heal all the wounds, while eating its heart will make them immortal. Their big brother challenges them to prove whether those myths are true. However, Kokurin is not ready to accept that. She reveals the hearsay that the eagles that devoured the dragon died immediately. Mockingly, her big brother steps on the dragon's tail and chomps off a big piece of flesh. He wants to prove to them that there is no truth in those baseless rumors. Soon, the three begin to dig in and sink into the divine taste of dragon's meat. One night of the full moon, while walking through the forest, both Misumi and Kokurin begin to feel sick. Their big brother is horrified to see those deep, eerie marks on their faces. Kokurin weakly proclaims that her whole body ached from the inside. Next, the pulse rate of their big brother begins to falter, and he becomes weak with sheer pain. Suddenly, someone appears and guesses that they have eaten a dragon. The three turn their heads to find a little girl with a long tail floating in the sky. She bluntly declares them as doofuses. They protest that the incident happened a long time ago. She makes a shocking revelation that the dragon's poison affects the host body on the night of the full moon, and it can be deadly. As Misumi and Kokurin's health begins to deteriorate further, their older brother begs her for a solution to save them. At least Shinsui affirms that there is a way, but coldly refuses to reveal it. In the next moment, she transforms into a sinister-looking dragon and points at herself. Being very hungry, the older brother miserably stares at their frail states and blames himself for that. He pants heavily and then helplessly offers himself to the dragon. He begs her to save his siblings. The dragon is waiting for his consent, and instantly, she gobbles him down, to Misumi and Kokuren's horror. But the two are too frail to even protest. The dragon, who transforms into Master Shinsui, smacks her lips and declares them her eternal prisoners. At present, as Master Shinsui is resting in a cave, the two siblings sit idly, lost in their own thoughts. Misumi wonders if their life is full of constant abuse. Then, is it worth living? Kokuran defends Shinsui's generosity in granting them her blood when they were suffering. She cannot believe that he is calling that abuse. Misumi protests that she is only toying with them and is generous only when she wants to be. A furious Kokuran snarls at him and urges him to leave and never to return. Misumi is deeply upset as she stares at her sister soaring away in the sky. He miserably stares up at the sky for a moment, then dejectedly lowers his head, thinking that they are truly cursed. Meanwhile, Shinsui is secretly watching him. On the other hand, both Hekidu and Hakure are resting near the clear stream when Hakure tries to playfully scratch Hekidu's tough, scaly back. Unexpectedly, something from his back falls off. She instantly wakes him up and informs him about that. A panic-stricken Hekidu probes her whether her claw has something to do with it. A concerned Hakure wonders whether that fallen scale can be restored, but he is not very sure about that. She regrets her reckless behavior and lowers her head dejectedly. An amused Hekidu stares at her for a moment and then bursts into a fit of laughter, roughly scratching his back again and claiming that he was just pulling her leg. He points at a lot of fallen scales strewn on the ground and explains that those are very old. Hakure stares at him disapprovingly, but then picks up one piece of fallen scale and admits that she has learnt something new about him that day. She gazes at the scale affectionately and finds it quite pretty. Hekidu stares at her in a haze, and then Hakure touches a bald spot from where the scale has fallen. The dragon shudders in excitement and urges her not to touch that spot. She anxiously wonders whether that hurt him. He reveals that the part is still tender. Immediately, he takes his human form, and their eyes meet again with lingering passion. In the next moment, he hovers in the sky, while a puzzled Hakure watches him. Translation: when emotions get too intense, just fly away and pretend it's a dramatic exit. He lingers around for a while and then realizes that this won't do. Later, the duo is loitering in a rocky cavern, with Hekidu perched on Hakure's back. She expresses her cluelessness about where the cavern will lead. Even he agrees that it is too deep and is certain that if she had gone in there alone, she wouldn't have been able to come out. Next, he spots a bunch of bats hanging from the ceiling and wonders whether they are aware of a creature having a very long lifespan living there. The bats act like empty-headed doofuses and create meaningless echoes of his question, so he guesses that even they are not aware. They notice inquisitively that there are holes everywhere at one particular place. Hekido senses that Hakure appears exhausted, so he decides to take a break at that spot. She purrs and cuddles him lovingly. Soon, they settle down to take take some rest, but are suddenly alerted by a strange wheezing sound. Hakare begins to growl ferociously while he becomes cautious, as an intimidating hissing sound echoes around. In the next moment, the head of a colossal tortoise appears, staring at them lazily. Hekido stares at it astonishingly, while Hakare steps forward, growling ferociously. He flies upwards to reach the tortoise's head and asks whether he is the long-lived creature. For the response, the tortoise just gazes at them blankly. A slightly annoyed Hekido gets closer to the head and explains that they are looking for a way to extend their lifespans. He requests the tortoise to help them in this regard. Trying to ask a tortoise for advice, it's like interviewing a rock with opinions. The deadpan tortoise just stares at him for a moment, so when a frustrated Hekido probes him again, it finally exclaims that his query is truly shocking. Hakare warns Hekido to keep a safe distance from him since she is afraid that he will be devoured. An amused Hekido assures her that this creature is a herbivore and appears surprised. The tortoise chips in, claiming that he even eats fruits, but Hekido is not concerned about that. After a while, the tortoise mentions that extending a lifespan is very difficult and is no less than overturning the world. Hekido gets agitated and then moodily exclaims that he can forget about it if he does not know about that. Suddenly, the three bats hover above them noisily and warn the tortoise about the dragon's presence. The tortoise assures them that he is already aware, and soon a group of rats returns from somewhere, greeting the old tortoise. At this point, it's less a cave and more a fantasy petting zoo. Hekido wonders whether this is a rest area for the creatures. The tortoise claims that this is a safe zone for all to shut their eyes for the night. Next, he peers at them closely and inquires whether he is intending to pair up with that tiger. Hekido freaks out at that bizarre question, since he knows that this is not possible, as their races are entirely different as well. The wise tortoise, in turn, questions him about the purpose of extending Hakare's lifespan. Hekido lowers his head dejectedly, expressing his cluelessness. His act ignites fire within Hakare, who screams at him for not being aware. Hekido flares up and claims that even she is similar, who act after understanding everything. Soon, the heated bickering begins, while the tortoise gazes at them thoughtfully. He calls for their attention and states that their answers align. When the duo looks at him curiously, the tortoise shrinks and turns into a small, withered old man. Next, he instructs them to follow him. Plot twist. The tortoise was actually the cave's customer service representative. The trio goes through a long range of dark, rocky alleys, while Hekido yawns in fatigue. Frustrated by the old man's sloth-like speed, he urges him to move a bit faster. Soon, they reach their destination, where Hekido is wide-eyed to see a gigantic dragon's corpse lying in the clearing outside the cavern's opening. Hekido is spellbound and wonders about its presence. Hakare notices another smaller corpse placed beside the dragon's. The old man points out that it belongs to a wolf. Hekido is completely baffled about the whole situation. After a long pause, the old man narrates a story about a dragon and a wolf who came together some time ago. The dragon had asked for a way to make the wolf live longer. The tortoise wondered whether this was the reason they had come in such a hurry. The wolf sat down, appearing quite exhausted. Clearly, the tortoise was the only one with lifetime insurance in this story. She remarked that she had found the place very serene. Meanwhile, the dragon begged the tortoise to help them. The tortoise tried to calm down the dragon, since it could be seen that the wolf badly needed some rest. As the wolf settled down beside the dragon, the old man probed him further about the reason he wanted to extend the wolf's lifespan. The dragon looked confused but stated that he didn't want to lose her. He mentioned how they had kept each other company for all those years, but then suddenly she grew old and he became helpless. However, looking at her inability to move forward is driving him crazy. The wolf chuckled in her sleep and teased him for talking about unattainable things. She believed that he wanted to turn away from her. When the dragon looked at her with curiosity, she straightened up and shifted into her human form. She worried he might dislike her older appearance, but he drew her close, held her, and told her he would love her no matter how she looked. Someone call a therapist. This dragon just out-romanced every human alive. Unfortunately, the beautiful moment didn't last long, as the wolf passed away in the next moment. The tortoise recalls how the dragon roared agonizingly amidst the thundering downpour. He turned into his human form and requested the tortoise to let them stay there. The tortoise readily obliged. Time passed, and the wolf's corpse withered until it was reduced to a mere skeleton, but the dragon never left her side. But one unfortunate day, some leopards attacked him and ripped him apart. Soon, he lay beside his beloved wolf's corpse and collapsed. The anxious old man wondered why he didn't defend himself. The dragon revealed that he was tired of living alone. The old man stated that the wolf would have pulled her leg, to which he chuckled and agreed. In the next moment, he passed away on that dreadful night. At present, both Hekido and Hakare appear glum on hearing that heartbreaking story. But he wonders why anyone would go to such lengths for a mere wolf. The old man reprimands him for being insensitive. He believes that because dragons enjoy longevity, that's why reproduction is not their only interest, and they enjoy other creatures' company as well. The more the two get closer, the difficult it is for them to part. In short, long life, longer emotional baggage. Next, he turns to Hakurei and queries her about the feelings she has for Hekidu. He guesses that she is probably fascinated by him. She, in turn, wonders whether that feeling is inappropriate. However, the old man expresses his own ignorance in this regard, but he recalls that the wolf looked immensely happy. Later, Hekidu sits sullenly beside a resting Hakurei, and the old tortoise observes him from a distance. He notices that he looks upset, to which he responds acridly that he didn't want to hear that dreadful story. Denial. The first stage of mythical heartbreak. He claims to be very different from the wolf and the dragon from the story. The tortoise reasons that if he thinks he is different, he shouldn't be affected by the story in any way. He cuddles up to Hakurei's warm, furry body to seek comfort from all that disturbance. Suddenly, the tortoise points in the west direction and informs them that crossing great rivers and mountains will lead them to the highlands. He reveals that those who live there will enjoy longer lifespans and will roam freely, a turtle giving GPS directions, slow but accurate. He mentions that even though he lived there a long time ago, he traveled from place to place. He explains that the two from the story chose to rest here, but Hakurei and Hekidu can always move forward. With an affectionate smile, he advises them to cherish those moments. As the duo decides to embark on a new journey, Hakurei feels a scaly tail slithering around her body. She looks inquisitively at Hekidu, who tries to look indifferent. She mentions that his tail is wrapping around her, but he deliberately ignores that. But then he admits that he really wants to do that. When she looks baffled, he decides to pull it off, but she stops him and proclaims that it makes her feel safe. She affectionately wraps her arms around his tail. A clip from the past is shown where the wolf wondered why the dragon always wrapped his tail around her. The dragon responded that this is how they showed their true feelings. Turns out, dragons don't need rings, they've got tails for commitment. In some faraway grassland, a pack of deer is panic-stricken as they sense some threat around them. In no time, they spot a baby cheetah stealthily heading towards them, and they dash away in different directions. The baby cheetah lowers his head dejectedly when he hears the sound of a deer being hunted. Soon, an enormous tiger appears, holding a dead deer between its teeth. The baby cheetah lights up at the sight of the food. He heads towards the tiger, but the latter growls at him menacingly. Ignoring that, the baby cheetah tears off some deer meat, only to be smacked by the angry tiger. The baby cheetah snarls at the tiger, wondering what he is trying to do. Baby cheetah clearly skipped the Don't Annoy Tigers chapter in survival school. The tiger retorts that he wants to ask the same from him. The baby cheetah exclaims that he is just a kid and he needs to eat more to grow. The tiger shrugs off indifferently since that had nothing to do with him. But the cheetah is adamant that he needs more nutrition and exercise to grow stronger. Suddenly, the tiger turns into his human form, and it is revealed that he is none other than Oga. He looks thoughtfully in an upward direction and queries the cheetah whether he wants to become stronger. The cheetah gives him a cute smile and praises his enviable build. He points at his strong, muscular arms and towering height. The cheetah's flattery game is so strong, even Oga's ego just joined the space program. He praises Oga so much that the latter turns as airy as a hot air balloon. He proudly smirks and claims that, after all, he has been alive for 4 years. The cheetah butters him up more, claiming that he wants to be just like when he grew up. Oga smiles smugly and agrees to share his prey with the cheetah. Flattery apparently buys both mentorship and free steak. The latter brightens up. Oga eagerly wants to know whether he needs any tips, but the kid is busy chomping down the meat. Oga watches him disapprovingly, and then remarks on his skinny physique for a tiger. The kid clarifies that he is a cheetah, and his name is Muku next. Oga introduces himself. Muku begs him to show how he can be stronger like him. Oga is left with no choice, so he explains by giving practical examples that if he wants to strengthen his arms, then he should climb a tree. Muku tries to imitate him, but whines feebly after climbing a few inches. Oga looks at him thoughtfully, then suggests comparatively easier rock climbing. Muku attempts to climb a rock, but slips down and falls with a thud. Oga helps him climb by balancing his feet on his head. Next, he gives him a push and instructs him to hold firmly to the rock. Who needs a gym buddy when you have a tiger acting as a footstool? After a toil, Muku manages to reach the top and grins proudly, but when Oga orders him to try again, he groans. Later, Muku stares at his scratched hands while sitting under a tree, and a sense of achievement flows within him. Then he gazes at Oga, who is dozing off at the moment, and cuddles to his body affectionately. Oga gives him an agitated glance. As the night gets inkier, Muku is awakened by some strange noise. He swiftly gets up and heads towards the open grassland. He spots a group of hyenas. The plot thickens, and so do the hyenas' bad intentions. He hides behind the tall grass and stealthily glides ahead. The hyenas are alerted by the rustling sound and spot a baby cheetah growling at them ferociously. They wonder about his presence. Muku menacingly accuses them of stealing their prey and attacking his mother when she tried to get it back from them. Small cheetah, big drama, zero chill. One of the vicious hyenas is surprised to know that one of the cheetah cubs escaped. Muku snarls at him, threatening him for revenge. The hyena retorts that the prey doesn't really belong to the hunter and emphasizes the theory of finders keepers. The hyena insists that Muku's mother overestimated her strength. It even reasons that the cubs had to be devoured because they had already lost their mother's protection. However, Muku escaped. The hyena accuses Muku of abandoning his parents and siblings in times of danger. A remorseful Muku protests hysterically, but the hyena is adamant. The hyena insists that Muku is very strong until he appears before them. You know it's bad when your trauma gets a TED Talk. With that, they all sinisterly surround Muku, who lets out a feeble growl. Suddenly, the whole vicinity echoes with a thundering roar, followed by Oga jumping between the circle of hyenas, shielding Muku from them. Muku is delighted to see him. Oga ominously warns the hyenas to stay away from his friend. Enter the tiger, because every hero needs an epic slow-motion entrance. They gaze at him goofily, wondering whether he is a lion, but one of them points out his maneless head. Another proposes the possibility of him being a she-lion. Oga yells at them to stop messing around and fight if they want to, but the hyenas refuse, claiming that they don't believe in pointless fights. Soon they scamper away. Oga queries Muku about his tiff with those villains. Muku stares after them glumly, but says nothing. Oga pats his head assuringly to console him. He playfully wonders whether Muku was trying to fight those beasts, and declares him considerably brave. Muku regretfully denies being one, since he left his family and escaped on his own. He was thinking of fighting those guys to reduce his guilt. Oga questions him about whose forgiveness he is seeking. Muku weakly responds that he is seeking his deceased family. Oga explains that if he hadn't escaped, then his whole family lineage would have been destroyed, so probably his family is thankful for that. He advises him to live this life for their sake. An image of his family members flashes before Muku's eyes, and he happily declares that Oga is right. Insert emotional background music and one sniffly tiger. Next, he eagerly asks Oga to teach him how to hunt. An astonished Oga wonders why he should, so Muku reminds him of being his friend. An agitated Oga reveals that he just thought that if he spoke roughly, they would back off and would not attack. But Muku ignores him and plans to hunt with his help. He expresses his desire to hunt in a group. In a low voice, Oga discloses to him that he doesn't intend to stay here for long, since he still has a lot of things to do on his plate. As he trots away, Muku glumly bids him farewell. When Oga looks by his side, he finds Muku accompanying him. Guess who just got adopted without consent? He warns him that even if he comes along, he won't be able to take care of him. Muku assures him that he also has to take care of a few things in that direction. Oga sighs as yet again he isn't left with any choice. The tiger's new motto, "I don't choose the cub life. The cub life chooses me." Meanwhile, Hekidu is gliding through the sky carrying Hakure. She wonders whether he ever gets tired of flying. He responds that just like she needs her limbs to walk, he requires his tail to fly. Next, he points to his hands and mentions that even they get exhausted while holding her. So when he soars near the sea, he releases her in the deep waters. Next, he glances at her and states that it will be better if they reach the shore before it gets dark. Hakure agrees, and he instructs her to signal. When she is tired, Hakure tries to thrust forward, but the deep water engulfs her as she loses balance. In no time, she disappears underwater, and a horrified Hekidu screams out her name. Pro tip: next time, maybe bring floaties. Instantly, he transforms into a dragon and dives in. But before that, a ferocious crocodile has already spotted an unconscious Hakure and begins to gnaw on her leg. Hekidu lets out a deafening roar and thwacks away the terrible reptile. He bites into the scaly skin of the beast and begins to tug him away, but the crocodile firmly grips Hakure's leg and is not ready to let go. That crocodile clearly didn't get the memo about sharing is caring. Then Hekidu pierces the crocodile's head with his pointed set of teeth, and finally it releases Hakure's leg. Next, he immediately gets hold of Hakure and thrusts upward through the deep waters. The treacherous crocodile gets hold of Hekidu's tail to stall him, but he forces himself out, and the deadly beast is also pulled out from the water, since it is still gripping his tail. Finally, the crocodile rips off its tail tip and splashes back into the sea. That's one way to get a free tail trim, painful, but efficient. Poor Hekidu yelps in sheer pain, but all he is concerned about is Hakure's well-being. Hakure coughs out the salty water to his relief. The crocodile emerges on the surface again and urges him to hand over Hakure to him since he can see that she is causing a hindrance to Hekidu's flight, but Hekidu gives him a cold shoulder and takes off. The crocodile presses him about the great distance he has to fly towards the shore and even threatens him about the possibility of both becoming his prey. Hakure anxiously calls out to him, but Hekidu tells her to ignore him. He flies continuously in great pain, pursued by the menacing crocodile on the death trail. A distressed Hakure clings to him as death dances on the sides. At this point, they both deserve frequent flyer miles in pure stress. However, the courageous Hekidu finally manages to reach the shore, to the crocodile's disappointment. He drops Hakure on the ground and pants heavily. A concerned Hakure wonders about his well-being, but he asks her to show him her injured leg. Hakure's leg is all bloody with an ugly gash, and suddenly, it's Dr. Dragon time. He asks her to lift it and then begin to lick it. Hakure winces in discomfort and orders him to stop. He reasons that this approach will allow it to heal faster. She recalls that she was taught not to lick wounds, to which he retorts that this is because she has a rough tongue. When she stays silent, he tells her to be patient. Soon, he begins to lick up her wound while she grimaces in agony. Quite later, he manages to stop the blood from oozing out, but instructs her not to move much. When she shyly turns away her face, he looks at her inquisitively. Somewhere, a romantic violin starts playing awkwardly, to which she regrets being a bother to him. He mischievously probes her about whether she is concerned about that now. Like a bolt from the blue, she pulls him closer to herself and buries her face in his chest. He looks at her quite puzzled, and then states that many want to hunt him down, but because of her, they cannot touch him. When she stares at him, completely baffled, he proclaims that this is because she is accompanying him. Hakure is completely confused, so he explains that at the moment, she doesn't have the strength to protect him, but if she is really worried about him, then she has to get well soon so that nobody can dare bite him again. Ah yes, the ultimate motivation, bite prevention. She remorsefully stares at his bitten tail, but he assures her that it is nothing and urges her to take some rest. When she is asleep, he licks the chopped end of his tail and ponders that the wound he got from protecting her means nothing to him. Hakure is standing in a strange place where several animals are circling her. She excitedly points towards a rabbit, a pig, a bird, and then a deer. She quickly gets hold of a juicy deer and digs her teeth into it. Suddenly she hears a painful yelp, and she sees an annoyed Hekidu holding his arm. She quickly mentions that she was trying to bite into a flying deer. Hekidu points out that she might have been dreaming. She stares at him blankly, then cuddles up to him affectionately. She purrs apologetically. Nothing says sorry like almost chewing your friend's arm off, but Hekidu gazes at her injured thoughtfully and realizes that since she hasn't eaten in a while, that's why she is dreaming about food. He decides to find something before she gobbles him up. Soon, he scouts through the sky, looking here and there, and then he suddenly spots some deer in a grassland below. He quickly takes a sharp dive, but the deer catches the sound of his dashing through the air and quickly disperses in various directions. He looks around frantically, but all are gone. It can be seen that his chopped tail is causing a hindrance to his agility. Next, he dips his snout in the shallow seawater to catch some fish, but they slip away rapidly. Suddenly, he spots a dark shadow beneath the water, and in the next moment, an enormous crocodile pops up from underwater, ready to snap him up, but Hekidu jumps in the air just in time to save himself. The crocodile clearly missed the "don't bite the hand that feeds you" lesson. It is revealed that he is the same bloodthirsty crocodile that had bitten off his tail and injured Hakure. The crocodile expresses his regret for missing the chance again, but mockingly warns Hekidu of the water. Meanwhile, the sun is about to set, and Hakure is patiently waiting for Hekidu's return. When she sees that no one is around, she tries to lick up her wound. But Hekidu pops up from nowhere and catches her doing that. When he points that out to her, she quickly covers up that she was just combing her fur. Next, he presents an exotic collection of slugs and bugs in front of her. Hakure is astonished, but he crushes the head of one creepy crawly so that it doesn't bite them. A 5-star dinner if you're dining in the lost appetite section. Next, he picks it up, puts it straight into his mouth, and chomps it down. When she asks about its taste, he declares it poisonous and suggests she have a slug instead. She picks one up, chews it down, and remarks that it has a peculiar taste. In a frenzy, he explains that this is better than having nothing. He recalls the serpent telling him that if he doesn't find anything, bear with the insects, since they are easy to find if one looks for them under the stones or trees. However, that egotistic serpent had advised him to let go of a snake whenever he finds one. Hakure offers to go hunting once the sun settles, but he quickly tells her not to. He points at her battered leg and emphasizes that she cannot hunt yet. Translation: Doctor's orders, no heroics, just bug snacks. He furiously grits his teeth whenever he recalls that vicious crocodile that had brought such difficult times to them, but then a mysterious smile appears on his face when an idea strikes him. Amidst the inkiness of the dark waters, a pair of sinisterly gleaming eyes appears, followed by a scaly, disfigured snout. The deadly crocodile has spotted Hakurei drinking water from the shore, but she is as vigilant as ever, as her sharp gaze is on the water ahead. Suddenly, a mild swirl appears on the water, indicating an ominous presence, and she swiftly leaps over it. At the same time, the crocodile pops out from the water, ready to attack her, but she dodges and growls ferociously at the terrible reptile. The reptile regrets missing his chance again, but mocks her that she won't be able to escape with that ugly gash. With that, he intimidates her by opening wide his huge snout, lined with a razor-sharp set of teeth. But before he can ambush her, a loud crash startles Hakurei when a gigantic dragon foot stomps on the crocodile's head, smashing it completely. He jeers at the dead crocodile to beware of the sky. Next, the duo digs their teeth into the crocodile's flesh, and after their hunger is sated, Hekidu is relieved that now they don't have to worry about food for a few days. Who says revenge isn't a balanced meal? But Hakurei is still shaken at the thought of a crocodile suddenly popping up on her like that, since she wasn't expecting that. She probes him about that matter, since he had only instructed her to drink water from the shore. Hekidu reminds her that when the crocodile appeared, he gave her a sign by throwing a pebble in the water, which created a spiral in the water and alerted her. Hakurei is still apprehensive because that vicious animal could have gobbled her up, but he mischievously highlighted the fact that she bit him in her sleep as well, so now they are even. Hakurei is nearly breathless when she tries to climb a rocky boulder. Hekidu suggests training her weakened body by climbing onto something. However, Hakurei refuses, claiming that he is exhausted and thirsty. He stares at her, thoroughly annoyed, then lashes out at her for being a spoiled kitten. He warns her that he won't be taking care of her forever. Sullenly, he decides to leave and begins to climb a cliff. A wry smile plays on his face when Hakurei follows him and finally manages to climb it as well. He realizes that the weather is getting chilly again and expresses his displeasure about that. Hakurei gets closer to him and assures him that she will keep him warm. He snootily mentions that this has to be done, otherwise he will be in trouble. However, he suggests speeding up their pace, as according to the tortoise's advice, they still need to cross 2 more mountains. As they loiter around a grassland, an enormous eagle suddenly stoops between them. The duo stares at it furiously. Soon, another eagle flies over, and Hakurei ferociously challenges it to get down. Out of the blue, a pair of arms belonging to Shinsui encircle Hekidu, and she whispers into his ear that they have finally met. He wrathfully swishes his tail to ward her off and tries to intimidate her by hissing. If hissing worked as a defense mechanism, cats would have conquered the world by now. Shinsui bursts into a fit of laughter on hearing that snake's hiss. She transforms herself into a ferocious dragon, inhales deeply, and lets out a thundering roar that sends chills down everyone's spine. Next, she mockingly addresses Hekidu as child, and emphasizes that this is how a dragon's roar sounds. She invites him to accompany her and offers to teach him many things, but before he can respond, a fuming Hakurei steps forward and menacingly growls at Shinsui. Hekidu places an assuring hand on Hakurei's back and then spits out at Shinsui that he won't be leaving the tigress's side at any cost. Also, he is certain that Shinsui will gobble him up anyway. Shinsui is shocked to learn something like that since she could never eat such a cute child. She claims that she just wants to be friends with him and that he has misunderstood her. She jeers at him that the tigress has completely subdued him, but he retorts that he is with her of his own will, but Shinsui is certain since she can tell by her dragon's instinct. When he appears puzzled, she explains that in the dragon clan, females fight for the males. Somewhere, a male dragon is sipping tea and pretending this logic makes sense. That's why a strong female is more attractive to a male, since she would be able to protect him. After a pause, he reasons that this only happens in dragons, but Shinsui claims that other creatures live like that as well. She claims that his sight, scent, and mobility bring out maternal instincts within females because male dragons are weak. She points out his scrawny body, weak jaws, and his clawless tail, but because of that desire to protect their survival rate increases. She reasons that this is why he has survived all along, firstly through a serpent and now a tigress. She highlights that right now he is picturing a strong and attractive female in the tigress. So she suggests killing her right now, and in this way, his heart can be hers. Nothing says romance like murder proposals and emotional manipulation. Hekidu clamps his fist tightly, and then makes shocking revelations about how he understands now why he never thought about leaving the tigress, and why she hasn't eaten him yet. He declares heartlessly that since the realization has dawned on him, He doesn't need the tigress anymore. Hakare miserably grabs him, probing him about his sudden change of mind, but he ruthlessly kicks her away and then joins Shinsui. Hakare stares at the sky, thoroughly shocked, but then she looks into Hekasu's sad eyes as he wearily floats away. Hakare growls in sheer fury and then madly runs in that direction. She's fueled by rage, heartbreak, and maybe the world's worst dating experience.
Here I am, know it's been a while.